Good evening, Nick family, and welcome to.
The crossover.
Yes, I'm Stephanie English from the Queen's Court, and this is.
Tony Crow, Knicks and Bruises. Your blackest time.
Yeah, definitely. Welcome back, Tone. I missed you. We did not do the crossover last week, and so I'm glad that you're back. And we can
Oh,
get right into it. But you want to
yeah,
say a little
I'm glad.
something about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad to be back too. We just did Knicks and Bruises right before this, and I told you off air, man. I didn't realize how much I missed this. Only took a week off, but getting back into it, this really is therapy for me. So I appreciate any time I could jump on with you and any of the other panelists, MBK fams. Salute to Sim, nothing but Knicks. Let's get it.
Let's get it. All right. Well, we only going until 6:30. And then right after that, we got the MBK pregame because the Knicks play tonight. They play Memphis, right? So that's going to be Memphis is top 10 in offense and defense, right? So we're going to get right to it today. We're going to talk about agree, disagree. IQ, Grimes, and Obi were all left off of the Rising Star roster. Agree, disagree that that's because the media still has negative mm, thoughts and feelings about the Knicks and maybe even other um, whoever was voting. There's that negative narrative about the Knicks that we haven't gotten over, despite going to the playoffs last year, and that affected those three getting on the team. What do you think?
I'm gonna disagree only with the preference that the media, because I think it's all about wins and losses. I think if we were sitting even at the sixth seed, I think we would have one, two, maybe even three guys in that mix.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we was at the sixth seed, we might even have an all star on our team. So I think it's more about the wins and losses. Media, especially New York media, they're gonna dig and try to find the dirt, the negative story, the controversy. Josh, what's up? You
Mm-hmm.
know, they're gonna try to look for that regardless. When things are going good, when things are going bad, we know what sells. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that affects you know whether a guy becomes an all star, whether he gets put into that rising star challenge. I think it's more about wins and losses, or just having a phenomenal season to where they can't snub you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I don't think it's because of the negative narrative from the Knicks. I just think it's because maybe other players were better. I think Obi is playing. I don't know how many minutes. Quickly is playing maybe 20 minutes. I don't know. You know what? I'm a change. I agree with it. I agree. I think it's more than just. I think it's more than just minutes. I still think that negative narrative. Now, I'm not going to say it's the media. I don't know who votes. I
Hmm.
don't know who votes for the Rising Stars.
Hmm.
Um, I just think that negative narrative about the Knicks is still there. Yeah, I just think it's still there, and I think that's affecting um, things of this sort.
I want to highlight a comment
Yeah, yeah.
also as well. Let's see. We disagree. Our guys don't play enough. The other rookies and sophomores have more opportunities. I think that also has part to do with it. I think that has part to do with the individual numbers of the players. Um,
Hmm.
but I think there's two ways to get in. You being an active part of the rotation and your team winning, or you having such a breakout performance in the current year that they can't snub you. I can't say that any of those three guys are having a breakout performance to the point where they can't be snubbed. I think they all have limited roles on this team. So I agree with Gerald in that aspect. But I think if the team was winning and these guys are playing the rotational minutes that they're playing, I think they would get recognized for it. We're just not. You're muted.
Do we have the roster though? Like, do we have the roster of who um made it?
I, we don't. We don't.
Let me get that.
Someone highlighted Walter White. I love that name too. I disagree with Tony because Houston and Orlando have worse records, and I won't
Yeah.
include Detroit.
I'm
So,
a I'm gonna read it. Can I read it all?
mhm.
Scotty Barnes, Cade Cunningham, Ayu DeSumo from Chicago, Duarte, Indiana, Josh Giddey, Jalen Green, Herbert Jones from New Orleans, Davion Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Alperen Sagoon from Houston. Jalen Suggs was injured for a bit. Franz Wagner is balling out. Sophomore, Precious Achua, Cole Anthony, Desmond Bain, LaMelo Ball, Sadiq Bey, Anthony Edwards, Halliburton, Therese Maxey, Jaden McDaniels, Isaac Okoro, Isaiah Stewart, and Jason Tate. And there's 4 players from the G League Ignite this year as
Mm,
well.
all right. I don't. And the G League players are based off the G League performance, or have they had call ups and performed during
I don't
that?
think they've been called up. These are on the
Mm.
G League Ignite team. I think that's the isn't that the
Oh,
team that's signing
yes.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's interesting. I haven't followed them enough, but I don't think they should be eligible for that. I
Mhm.
think it should only be guys that are rotational players in the NBA. I think they'll have their 2 year chances to do that next year because these guys aren't a part of any organization, right? These guys are upcoming
Mhm.
draftees.
Mhm.
Why should they have that opportunity um to play with
Yeah, they changed
profession?
the format. Yeah, they just changed the format recently.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this has to be the first year. I
Yeah.
just, I just kind of adamantly disagree with it
Mhm.
because they, technically they'll have their freshman, sophomore, NBA years to be eligible for this. But I mean, it is what it is. Going off that list, my only question would probably be: was it Suggs the ones that was hurt?
Mhm.
Um, Maybe a guy like that. I wouldn't necessarily consider them have been snubbed, or should I say Grimes being snubbed? But I think you
Mhm.
can make a case for him.
Mhm.
Do you have the sophomore list?
Yeah, I mentioned the sophomore list. That was the one with Precious Achua, Cole Anthony, Desmond Bain, LaMelo Ball, Sadiq Bey, Anthony Edwards, Halliburton, Maxey, Jaden McDaniels, Isaac Okoro, Isaiah Stewart, and Jason Tate. Mm.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
you can't. I don't think you could argue that they've been snubbed per se.
Isaac Okoro. I mean, he's playing.
I haven't really seen him this year, but I know he's good, and I know he was good last year. I do know that. So, but some of it I'm basing off name and not what I've actually seen.
Mhm.
But Quickly's having a off year to me, personally.
Yeah, he is having an off year, but a lot of these guys are having off years.
Mm,
I don't see any. A lot of these guys are not consistent. Players like Alperen Sagoon out of Houston. Sometimes he's in the rotation, out of the rotation. Like somebody said, Jalen Green is
mm-hmm.
having a terrible year. I just think it's some of the negative. I just don't think the Knicks as an organization get a lot of respect. I'm just gonna put it like that.
If I was gonna make an argument for one of them, it would probably be Grimes with the rookies more than Obi and Toppin with the sophomores. How about you? Let me phrase it that way.
I would say. IQ with the
with the
IQ
sophomores.
with the sophomores.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say IQ with the sophomore. I mean, they're getting consistent minutes. These guys, they are in the rotation. Some of these guys that's on the team are in and out of the rotation.
Hmm.
You know, um, I just don't think the Knicks get a lot of respect around the league. Um, that's it.
I agree. I agree with that though. I agree with that statement. Like that's a fact. It's hard to hear some positive. Honestly, I don't even like to hear the positivity from the TV networks. To me, it feels like a jinx. As soon as
Hmm.
we go on we start 5-1, then they want to talk about something. Then we kind of slip. As soon as we
Hmm.
get, what I mean, where I'm comfortable with where we at as
Hmm.
a team, the media says something, and we slip. I want them to keep that negative energy going. Don't rock with us, because I think us fans that endured the pain through the years, we the
Hmm.
ones that should really reap the benefits of success.
Hmm.
I don't like these guys jumping on and off the bandwagon.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Next question before we start talking about Obi. Agree, disagree. Grimes has earned Tibbs' trust faster than Knox because he was drafted by Tibbs.
Hmm. I'm gonna disagree again. I think he earned Tibbs' trust because he plays defense, and defense first, and defense on every possession. And Tibbs' favorite word is probably defense. So I think that's why. I think if Knox was a tenacious defender, as Clyde would say,
Hmm.
I think he would have earned more trust. So that, I mean, it's as simple as that for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is what Tibbs said about Grimes, quote unquote. He treats practice like a game. He gets there early. He practices extremely hard. He guards everyone. He doesn't take any possessions off. That's why he's earned his way. And he did a interview. I don't know if it was a post game interview where he said that when he got drafted, everybody was calling him and saying, Tibbs don't play rookies, right? And he was like, he's gonna do what he needs to do to force Tibbs to play him. And I guess
Yep,
he did that.
yep. And
And
I'll
I
say
guess
this: I said it, last show. I hope that Cam takes a page out of Grimes' book. I hope somehow he heard that message, whether it's communicated directly from Grimes, or just he picked up on it. But that's the attitude you have to come in here with if you want to come in and jump a rotation spot, because it's not easy with this coach.
yeah, 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 no doubt about it. And I think his coach, I think it was Sampson, coached him, and he's a hard nosed coach from what I understand. From what I understand as well. So, um, somebody said Grimes works very hard. Shout out to Keisha Cotton Candy. Appreciate you for rocking with us. Somebody said Deuce seems like the same tenacious type of guy, but point guard is a whole different beast. Um, that is true. Building roots. I don't get that dog vibe from Cam. Well, he hasn't played. Um, he hasn't played.
I tell
He
you what,
hasn't
he
played that
said
much.
he said the right things when asked about what he views his role as, and he said he feels like he's a star, and he wants to fill that void. Whether he can do it or not is another question, but to believe in yourself and have that attitude, that's a little doggish to me.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No doubt, no doubt. Um, I guess we could take one more question before we get to the OB question. Um, Randle has not been playing well this season at all. efficiency. He's less efficient than he was last year, even if his numbers are his counting stats is somewhat similar. And mentally, he just seems a little off. I'm not quite sure what that's about. And in my opinion, that started before the whole issues with the fans and the thumbs down. Agree or disagree that the chances of Randle returning to form this season is very slim.
I'm a disagree, but I have to preference that by saying I don't think his end stats will reach. I don't think he could bring the numbers to reach last year's numbers by the end of the season. But can he go on a performance down the stretch that rivals those numbers? Absolutely, I believe that. Can he figure it out? Between now, granted, time's running out, but between now and the end of the season to where he regains that level,
Hmm.
absolutely, I think he can.
I mean, I'm not even talking about him reaching the stats of from last year, and he may not even be an efficient player for the rest of the season. I think it's possible because what I'm thinking of when I say can Randall return to form, I'm thinking about a Randall that's engaged, play in and play out. A Randall that's engaged on the offensive end, engaged on the defensive end, taking the shots that's given to him, um, passing when he's double teamed, just really being involved. Um, I think he can regain that form this year, and I think he can regain that form overall. And we need him to. That's why I don't want the Knicks to be so quick to trade him because I think he can regain the form. So, um, yeah, that's kind of how I
You
disagree that he can't return the form.
you want to respond to JJ first?
What did he say?
What makes you believe that? I'm assuming. It's to both of us. So um, what makes you believe that he can?
That's a very good question because I think there's something going. That's a very good question because he's done it before. He's done it before. I've seen him take a lot of criticism. I've seen the fans really go at him on Twitter, and I've seen him come back that next season ready to rock. So I've seen him do it. That's what makes me believe it can happen. Now, don't get me wrong. Even if he goes on a tear from now to the end of the season, once you
Mhm.
factor in what's been going on up to this point, I don't think he's his efficiency is still going to be down. Like
Mhm.
it's 51 games.
Mhm.
But in terms of him, you know, mentally getting back in it, I do believe it's possible because I've seen it.
And that's pretty much my answer as well. We've seen him do it before. He's more than capable of doing it, and that's why I believe he can. Because the question was can, not will, right?
Right.
Like so can he do it? Absolutely. Um, and like I said, I don't think the numbers will reflect it as far as like overall because of like you said, 51 games passed already. But to say, oh, in the last 30 games of the season, Randall averaged 25, 12, and 5. Can he do that? Yeah, absolutely. So I agree. I got a question. I'm not gonna phrase it as a agree or disagree, but I'm interested in what your thoughts are. Do you think it's easier or will be easier for Randall to go from the fans not liking him and overcoming that and making them love him? which we kind of did last year, especially by the end of the season, regular season. um, do you think it's harder for him to go from the fans turning on him
Mm-hmm.
to regaining them than it was from them not liking him to making them love him? If you get my question,
Say that one more time.
because he started out not liked year
Right.
one, kind of earned the love from the fans. Year two, we're in year three, and I kind of think the fans turned on him. So do
Mm-hmm.
you think it's a harder adjustment from the fans turning on you and winning them back than it is from them not liking you to just winning them over?
Um,
Do you
I
think
think
that's going to
winning
be
them
a
back.
hard,
I think winning them
harder,
back is easier.
easier?
I think winning them back is easier because in order to win them back, that means at one point they liked you. You know, um, so this is nothing new, and I've already seen it. I've seen people on Twitter like after the last game in Sacramento. I've heard fans say, "This is what we wanted from you, Randle. Just just play hard. Just be in it." So I think that it's possible for him to win the fan base back over. Um, from what the fans are saying, they just looking for him to hustle. They're not even worried about him missing shots and being inefficient. The fans seem to be more focused on his lack of effort, his defensive lapses, his not playing 48 minutes, um, you know, those sorts of things.
Hmm. I think we was both pulling it up. C Mac, year one, year three, Randall is the player he is. I I disagree. I disagree. I don't know, when does a player become a finished product? Because if you're a professional at anything, I don't think you ever become a finished product. I think you continue to grow, you continue to learn. I think when you're a finished product, I think that's the end of your career. You know what I mean? Like that's the tail. That's the tail end. That's when it's time to retire. I
Hmm.
think he can still get better. A super chat in there.
Hmm.
Do you think fans turned on Julius, or did Julius turn on the fans? I say the latter. Whew.
And that ain't hard for me. I don't think
I,
Julius might have turned on the fans after they was giving him more smoke and then trying to clap him up after he made a good play and he wasn't having it. So I don't think I mean unless you feel him being inefficient and not playing well is turning on the fans, then okay. Okay. But if you're saying that thumbs down is him turning on the fans, the fans was on him first.
hmm
Whether that was a good response or a bad response, we can argue that, but they were on him first.
Yeah, and you can never judge someone by their response. Like you can't control someone's response. You might push me, I might come back and punch you,
Hmm.
but you push me. Whether you want to say it was just a push, you can't judge me by how I respond to what you did. So
Hmm.
I mean, you can, but remember the action caused the reaction.
Hmm. That's the one I wanted. Hmm. All right.
And shout out to the chat. I see we
Yeah,
got like
definitely.
260 in here. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Shout out to Sim as always. And
Definitely.
I
Definitely.
I see I just got a notification that I got a new subscriber, J Tap. So shout out to you, young lady. J Tap. Appreciate you.
Yep. All right. So let's get into the main um topic. If we trade Randall, if we trade Randall, Agree or disagree? Obi is ready to give us consistent production with
Mm,
the consistent minutes he will inherit.
mm. Phew. I,
What say you, chat? What say
I
you?
I disagree. I think he's gonna get the minutes. He's gonna get the opportunity. As far as him being ready, like you worded it perfectly.
Hmm.
The production. We don't know that he's ready to give us production night in, night out. We're talking about the concerns that we have for Randle, who's been here 3 years, been in the league 7, 8, like, and we're talking about his consistency, his production. There's no way I believe that Obi is ready for full time starter role and producing consistently. Now, if it happens, he's gonna have to get ready, but it's gonna take time. It's gonna like he's gonna be forced into it, but it's gonna take time before I think he becomes a consistent 17 plus a game.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I think if he was a starter on this team, no Randall, with 30 minutes, 30 plus minutes, I think he still gives us about 15 max. And I don't know if that's like 15 every night. I think he might
Hmm.
have a 30-point game and he might have a 5-point game. And that's just what it is. He doesn't have enough consistent moves to be you know what I mean? Like a
Right,
consistent threat. Um, so that's that. I disagree.
right. Um,
The chat disagrees with me.
yeah, they do. Um, it depends. I don't want to get too complicated with it. If the Knicks are taking a step back and going the route of Detroit, Orlando, um, Sacramento, like those teams that are just they know they're not playoff caliber teams. They trying to build to become playoff caliber teams. I think Obi can start on a team like that, right? I think he can be productive on a team like that.
Mhm.
But to your point, I don't think it's going to be consistent production because that's just part of being young in this league. One night he'll have 20, next night he's going to have 5. Like you look at Cade Cunningham for Detroit, the number 1 pick in the draft, he's up and down. You know, that's just how it is for young players, first year, second year, third year. So on a team like that, I think he could start. I think he could be productive. I think, like you said, at the end of the season, he'll probably average 15 points, 16 points, or something like that. But it's not going to be 15, 16 every night. It's going to be 25 one night, 12 the next. I think if the Knicks still have playoff aspirations and they're trading, say, Randle, keeping his team the same, trading Randle and sticking Obi into that spot, I know I don't think Obi is ready to carry that type of a load on a team that has playoff aspirations because for the same thing I just said, first and second year players are inconsistent,
Mhm.
right? You have to expect that from them, right? So I hope I'm not skirting the issue. I just feel like depending on the team we have, he could be okay. But on a team like this, like I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, just take Randall out and put in Obi. Obi is playing better than Randall." And shout out to Obi who have to be listening to MBK. As soon as I said Obi is limited, he go out the next 2 games and start hitting 3 pointers, taking the ball to the hole. So if he not listening, somebody is listening and getting the message back to them. Yo, they think you limited. You got to show them some things. And the past few games, he has been actually.
And prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. And not only prove me wrong about starters minutes and everything. Keep up the consistency in the minutes that you get. when you get
Mhm.
him. It's me says trade Randle for a point guard and Obi's ready. Now I agree with that to an extent. All right, I agree with that. But here's what I'll say to combat it: just give us a point guard, and this team is ready, including Obi, including Randle, including RJ. Like, give us a point guard, and it changes the whole story of this team.
Not just for
So
Obi, for everybody.
not just for Obi, but for everybody. Mitch, what's Mitch gonna do with a real point guard? What's Randall gonna do with a point guard? Tibbs keeps saying somebody's got to make things easier for him, and this is the thing that we was talking about coming into the season with Kemba and Fournier. We thought they was gonna make some things easier for him,
Right.
and part of it is him. Part of it is he has to let them make things easier for him. He has to understand that you don't have to do as much as you did last year. I, I, but I just went on a little rant.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, 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 no. Yeah, definitely. I think in terms of Obi long term, he's showing me some things. Like I've always seen flashes in his game. Like, he'll take the ball to the basket in a half court. Last year he was hitting the three much better. So there was always flashes that make me think his game is going to continue to develop to be more than a rim runner, right? Because that's what a lot of fans say, he's just a rim runner. But these past two games, he's been hitting the three. Um, I mean, not at a ferocious clip, but he's been hitting the three. He's been putting the ball on the floor, doing more of it, right? But it's just the nature of young players to be up and down. And I'm not going to take what somebody is doing against the second team and say um, this guy is ready. Should he get more minutes? Probably, especially when Randall is not playing well, and then on them games in which he looks disengaged, I would play him more.
Nuggy Fresh said, "Man, Randall don't want a point guard. Randall want to run the point."
You think so? I think he would welcome a point guard.
I think he would, but I said that early in the year too. I think part of Randall's problem was not adapting, not conforming, but adapting to the new additions.
Right.
He continued to play as if the roster was the same roster as last year,
Right.
and to me, not only did it limit the roles and the utilization of Fournier at his best or Kemba at his best, but it kind of hurt the team. It wasn't like he was dominating the ball, but saying, "I'm gonna score. I'm gonna," like if he did that, I have no problem with it. But I kind of understand where the frustration comes in, and the perception that he wants to be the point forward, because it does seem like that at times. He doesn't want to relinquish
Hmm.
those duties, that role.
Right.
So I see where he's coming from. I think the right point guard will nullify that. The
Right.
right point guard will demand it. Number one, if he's experienced enough or been through enough to where he can, Randall has to look at him and say, "All right, this guy's been to the Eastern Conference or Western Conference Finals, or he's been in to the second round 3 times." You know what I mean? Somebody who has some accolades that he has to respect, to where he has to listen,
Hmm.
conform.
Yeah. And then I also wonder, I mean, we have ball handling problems. That's not helping the issue. I think Tibbs is part of it that kind of likes him in that role because Tibbs can put a stop to that pronto, you know. But I guess Tibbs is probably also saying, well, all right, well, who else is going to do it? Who's a better facilitator on this team than Randall,
Hmm.
even with his turnovers? Like that. I'm like, we can't find nobody else on this team that's a better facilitator given Randall's turnovers.
And you
That's
know what
saying something.
you know what else it is too.
Hmm.
I mean, Tibbs. We know this. Tibbs has to trust you. He went through the fire with Randall and seen what he could do. It's gonna be hard to for Tibbs to relinquish that just off jump off front. So bring in a guy like Kemba in and say, all right, Randall, we love what you did for us last year. Ball's in his hand. He's gonna facilitate and control and create the offense. One, the speculation whether that was a Tibbs move or not, but if it wasn't, it's gonna be harder for him to do that. And then even if it was, I mean, I don't believe it was. I think if it was a Tibbs move or a Tibbs guy brought in,
Hmm.
we would see a little bit different of a maybe Tibbs saying, all right, put the ball in his hand. When Rose is starting or playing, the ball is in Rose's hand,
Yeah.
whether Randall's on the floor or not. And Randall conforms. You know what I mean? He plays around that.
Right.
We need a guy that Tibbs trusts at that point.
Right. That's a good point. The same thing when Kimba's in the game. You notice that Randall will get the rebound, they'll pass it to him, and he'll give it right to Kimba and go up the floor. Um, yeah, not all the time, but I've seen it. I've seen it often.
Hmm.
Often enough when
And
when
and and
Kimba's around.
more as of late, more as the season progressed. Because early in the season, that wasn't necessarily the case.
Right.
Prior to the benching, you probably just started seeing it right
Hmm.
before the benching. As Sim pointed out in the video where we saw some chemistry things that was working between
Right.
them right before the benching. But I mean, yeah, it's tough,
Yeah.
but I'm not giving up on them.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question. I think the next time we do something like that, we'll put a poll in the chat. Um, about is Obi ready to start? Yes or no? We'll definitely do that. But I wanted to ask your take on this. The Knicks were 8-3 when Kemba was out with that injury. Since Christmas, they were 8-3 when Kemba was out. Um, he came back, and the Knicks lost. I don't know how many games. Then he went out one game. I think it was the Clipper game. The Knicks won. Then he came back. We lost the next three. What's your take on that? And do you think it's even related or just a coincidence?
I hate to say it, but I was wrong, and Kimba's not a good fit here. I don't think Kimba's done. I think he could still have a successful ending to his career. I just don't think he fits here with this current roster. So I think he does. I'm not blaming him for it, but I think there's definitely some truth to it.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't think um I agree with you. Like I don't when that happened and I noticed it, I never thought it was his fault. I never thought it was, oh, Kimba is the reason why we're losing this game. And then he goes out one game, we win it. But I think chemistry wise, I think that's what it was. And I'm asking you this. We've talked about it, but I just haven't gotten your take on it. I was wondering if Tibbs was under some sort of pressure because he
Mm.
had to see the team was playing well since Christmas. And then as soon as Kimba was able to play, he put him right back into the starting lineup. And I'm wondering if he felt some heat or wanted to avoid the heat because of what happened the first time he took him out, like not really wanting to go back through them. Oh, he's ready. Why is he not? Why is he not playing? I just thought it was interesting. I was just interested in your take
Yeah,
on it.
I mean, I was one of the people that said he had to bring him back and start him when he was available.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he got the opportunity, he played well. After the initial benching, so just for the morale of the team,
Mm-hmm.
for guys to understand that, all right, I could get sat down, I could lose my rotation spot or my
Mm-hmm.
spot in the rotation, and then I can work my way back out of that. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
important for the rest of the team, especially the young guys, but the rest of the team to understand that this is not the end if I fall out of suit
Mm-hmm.
with the coach, or I lose my spot in the rotation, that I could work my way and earn my way back. So I think
Mm-hmm.
he really needed to I think he had to put him back. He had
Right.
to.
He had to. Okay. All right. Yeah. Angel Torres. Then we got to get into Knicks and Bruises. We got to get out of here at 6:30. Um, Sam and the rest of the panel will be doing the pregame. The Knicks play Memphis tonight at 7:30. So the pregame is scheduled for 6:30. Um, yeah, I don't think we talk a lot about the impact of Rose um, and his injury. Now I don't know if that's the difference between. I don't know if the Knicks on the 12th right now. If we even move down, I haven't checked. I don't know if
Mm.
that's the difference between the Knicks being the 12th seed right now and being in the sixth seed. But we're what, 4 games under 500 or 3 games under
I
500?
want to say three now.
Three. I
I
think
want to
Rose is
say.
good for 3 games because some of them games we've lost. I think
Hmm.
just his production and his leadership would have definitely helped. I think he would have been good for 3.
Not only do I agree with that, I think if Rose never went out, we never seen Kemba back. I don't think Kemba would have got the
Mm,
opportunity to even come back.
right.
And I when those injuries and the COVID, uh, protocols were piling up, I wondered whether this was gonna ultimately hurt us more than help us. And it's not me saying that because Kemba was gonna get the opportunity again, but I was worried if he plays like he played well and we lost. That, like, if he played well and we won, that would be
Right.
one thing. But
Hmm.
he played well and we lost, and now it's like, man, Tibbs has to play him. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like, I'm
Hmm.
all for the team. I'm a Kimba guy, BX all day, like a fan, everything. But it's team first for me also.
Right.
So I knew it
Right.
was going to be a tricky situation with him playing well, but us not pulling these wins out, and how it was going to affect us long term. But if Rose never went out, I don't think he would have got that opportunity to
To
even
come
come
back.
back.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think we can't underestimate roles, and I don't think we talk about him being out enough when
Hmm.
we talk about what's going on with the Knicks right now. I mean, the main thing for me is Fournier, Randle, until recently RJ underperforming for most of the season. Um, but yeah, I think him being out definitely hurt. Uh, all right, let's get to the next segment. That's you.
Yeah, we're gonna breeze right through this Knicks and bruises, and mine is definitely short. I didn't see all 5 games that I've been on vacation for. I seen the first one. I seen the Clippers win. I seen the last game that we won. I didn't really get to see the 3 losses, but my Nick is the 3 losses. You know I was hoping I come back from vacation and somehow have 5 wins, and
So did I.
started to turn this thing around. And luckily, I was in Vegas, and my intent was to bet on on all 3 of those games. Actually, 4 of them. I was going to bet on the Clipper game as well. And when they won that, and I didn't get to make the bet, I was upset, and I'm like, all right, I got to make a bet next game, and I kept missing it. Luckily, because I would have lost more money than I did. So that's definitely my Nick. And then my bruise, unfortunately, is still Randall's. I hate to take it from Spree, but Randall's mannerisms, his facial expressions, his pouting, his energy. He I want him to be. I don't necessarily want him to be the best guy on our team that gets us over the hump, but I want him to be the guy that changed the culture, that changed the perspective. Sort of what Amari did when he came. You know,
Yeah.
the guy willing to come, wanting to come, made things feel different, made things look different.
Hmm.
But that energy, that negative energy, that pouting, I'm not even gonna say booing the fans because stuff happens. But like you mentioned, that not being in the huddles and things of that nature,
Right.
that hurts the team more, I think, than just him not playing well.
Right.
You have to be, if not the leader, a leader, and
Right.
and
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
people people see that, they feed off of it in a negative way. It makes it
Hmm.
harder for you to be approached.
Hmm.
So he has to change that for him to be, the best guy on his team, the go to guy, and I think to turn the majority of the fans' opinion around about him.
Yeah.
So he's made a slight step towards it, and I'll go a little bit further in one more aspect of it. The missing the media, the post game
Hmm.
interviews. It comes with the territory. You're
Right.
the
No
best
doubt
guy
about it.
on this team. This is New York. You got to take the good with the bad.
Right.
When it's winning, and then New York we here, and the smiles, and you love that.
Right.
You gotta face the fire when you're not playing well. Own it. I'll
Right.
I'll play better. I'll try harder, and
Right.
we will accept that.
Right. And call Carmelo for lessons if you're having issues with that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. 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 Those are good points. I think my nick from this past week is how we played against Miami. I was really disappointed in the effort in that game. I thought, maybe they was deflated from the Cleveland game where they really was in it and then lost at the buzzer. Maybe that has something to do with it, but it wasn't like it was a back to back. Like you had a you had a game a day, in between the next game to kind of get yourself back together emotionally. So I was disappointed in just how they showed up against Miami. That being said, Miami is that dogged team that can take the win out your sails as well as well. Pop that balloon real quick. But
Hmm.
I was disappointed in that, and I think my bruise is the fact that the Knicks may be considering trading Randle. And I'm not the issue is not with the front office. I can get why they may be leaning in that direction, not just because of Randall's play. I don't even think it's that. I think it's just his attitude as well. And I think that's a bruise for me because last year there was like so much hope in the organization that we were finally turning the corner, not just as a team, but as an organization. We was finally turning the corner. And I think the idea of trading Randall is the idea, at least in my opinion, that we're going to take a step back. We're going to take a step back for sure, depending on who we get back. And I just think that hope not being there, just remembering those 7 years of not making the playoffs and just how difficult that was. And I do hear Knicks fans when they say, we're losing anyway. I don't mind. Let's just play the young people if we're losing. But trust me, misery, as Pat Riley said, losing is misery. Whether you're watching a veteran team lose night after night, or whether you're watching a young team um, uh, lose night after night, it doesn't feel better in the
Hmm.
moment where you could say, oh well, they're young and and they growing, so the losing doesn't feel as bad. Trust me, and a lot of you have went through it already. Losing feels bad, whether it's veterans or young people. You know what I mean? It feels bad. So I think that's kind of a bruise that Randle is just not playing up to par, and the Knicks are considering moving him. It's like, just when you thought we had turned the corner. And it still remains to be seen because depending on who we get back, we may continue.
Mm. Agree or disagree? real quick. If the Knicks trade Randle, the Knicks must let Tibbs go.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I agree with that. But I think, and it's already 6:29. We got to get out of here. I know that the show is starting at 6:30, but I agree with that, and we could talk about that later. Queen's Court will be on Sunday. Have your notifications on instead of Monday, Sunday. Have your notifications on so that you will be notified at the time that it drops. Appreciate you guys.
Salute, salute. Yo, Black this time. Appreciate you guys for joining. Catch us on MBK. We be there in like 30 seconds. We out.
Yep.